Hey ChatGPT, how are you today?
I'm doing great, thanks. How about you?
Like we are already going into the future where we are not talking to humans to solve the problems. What is one tool that you use on a daily basis? For a generic use case, anything generic, photo is obviously the best. But if you're going deeper into a certain thing, like let's say image generations or code or something like that, then you should always go back and switch. Like what are the models that are available? What can you do better there?
Yes. And one thing which I also liked about ChatGPT is the number of plugins that they have to. They have some for research, education.
Initially, when they launched all the plugins, I think I played around with flowchart generations.
Yes.
Or I even tried with like photo editing and stuff. I don't know why Google is not doing that, but Alexa is much ahead of the game in that.
Yes.
I wish ChatGPT comes with their own hardware and start selling that with GPT in it.
Yes. That will be game changer.
I'll tell you a funny story. I was in airport one day and I was going to India, and like right behind me was Arvind Srinivas.
One of the fastest AI product that we have seen in the recent times, which also reached that 1 billion valuation, right? That was one thing which was very interesting too. Some of the big investors like Jeff Bezos, Amazon, Nvidia have also invested a lot that product. So
let's jump to more deeper ones, right? I know we have been exploring some tools like Lovable, Bolt, Replit, and all of that recently.
one thing which I started experiment a little bit more was Lovable. Based on our research, what we found to build small like website to figure out how that works out. But I feel like Lovable is doing a good job.
I'm in love with Lovable. I think I'm working on the third product using Lovable now.
It's good in terms of creating that UI or mockups, like in terms of thinking all scenarios, journeys. But I still feel there is some opportunity where a lot of folks might have heard DeepSeek AI. I know that created a lot of buzz for a few days when it was initially launched. I felt like the responses were very similar to Chat GPT.
So even I tried it a few times, but somehow like GPT is what we are used to, so we eventually end up going to that. Probably one last thing that I want to talk about is the Sora. If you ask it with a clear prompt telling that, hey, this is exactly what I want, it's going to create that snippet of video and give it to you. And in order for us to like edit the videos and stuff, that's a gold mine. Hi everyone, welcome back to the podcast Everything Product. In this podcast, we talk about different product management concepts, latest technologies, and we also host wide variety of leaders shaping up the technology space. I'm very excited for today's podcast too, because I'm here with Srinath in his house and we are doing a live podcast today. Srinath, are you excited as well?
Definitely. First, thanks for making all the way your trip to Seattle. I know we have been wanting to do this since long time. I mean, you made it happen.
Yeah, this is, and the vibe itself is different, right? Because
Yes.
when we are doing virtually, we are just sitting in front of the laptop or in front of the cameras and doing this. But doing this in person changes the entire vibe.
Definitely. I feel like more that human in-person conversation versus like sitting in a meeting and talking. Sometimes, but
And even like when we are casually sitting and chatting, right? That vibe is like much more casual, much more like human driven rather than just computers, laptops and stuff. Yeah.
definitely.
Cool. And for all the audience, I know we have been playing with a lot of AI tools in the recent time. But few questions that people keep on asking us is, you as product leaders, like what are the tools that we use? So that's what we wanted to jam about today. So there are a bunch of tools that we have been exploring, we use in our personal life. So we both will just chat on what we use today. So yeah, we'll be talking about all the tools that we are using on a daily basis. So hopefully this is useful for you guys as well. So let's get started.
Yes.
So Srinan, I want to start with the very basic, right? What is one tool that you use on a daily basis?
I'm sure everyone knows this and probably are using it. But my favorite pick is ChatGPT.
Yeah, for sure. The OG of all the generative tools, right? For sure. Even for me, like everything that I wanted to do, my first preference goes to ChatGPT. Just ask. Honestly, my Google search has reduced probably like 99%. 99%. I literally don't go to Google first. I go to ChatGPT, ask a question, and if I don't like it, only then go to Google and search for it.
It's a complete different ball game, right? Like
Yeah.
2 years ago, no one would have thought about this, but now that's what AI is doing.
And I feel like that Gemini is crap.
Yeah, I still feel too. I feel it's still I'm not getting the answer right away.
Yeah.
Versus ChatGPT, I'm getting answer right away. I still have to go through multiple links and all via Gemini.
And I think I lost the confidence that Gemini is going to give the right answer. That's why I feel like even when I go do a Google search, when I see the summary on the top, I don't look at it. I just scroll down, I just click on the links to find the information that I want. I somehow lost the confidence that Gemini is going to give the right information.
I'm sure Google folks are hearing and listening to user feedback and trying to improve.
I'll tell you one more thing that I hate.
Mhm.
I have 6 Google Homes in my house. 6. Other than me turning on and off my lights or my heaters in the house, except that everything else doesn't work.
All right.
Man, they have Geminis sitting in the world. All they have to do is just plug in all of their Google Homes,
Yes.
which I'm sure is there in like 50% of the US households.
Yes.
And the expansion of Gemini would be crazy.
Yes.
And I have no clue why they are not doing that.
Yes.
I've even personally tried. How can I link ChatGPT to my Google Homes so that when I talk to it, ChatGPT responds and not Google Home? Wasn't really successful in that, but I was like, dude, the voice assistants in ChatGPT are crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why they're not able to crack the code because Alexa is already doing all that. Behind Alexa is what everything is, right? So
Alexa also, I don't know if you saw. We'll come back to that. Actually, I know we are switching from ChatGPT, but Alexa too, next level.
yes.
Yep. Actually, let's come back to ChatGPT, right? One more thing that I realized recently is 4.0 is great. 4.0 is their latest model. It's pretty good in terms of multiple things. But one thing that I realized is in order for me to like solve a different use case, I shouldn't use 4.0 all the time. Because recently I was trying to look into some code and then trying to figure out where there is issues and stuff. So when I was trying to do that, ChatGPT itself recommended, hey, in order for you to generate code, try O3 Mini. I was like, okay, let me try it out. 4.0 didn't do a good job, as good of a job to generate the code as what O3 Mini did. So then my mental model shifted to start switching the different types of models for the use case.
That is interesting because I didn't know until now, until you told me. Because by default, mine is always 4.0 because we already have subscription. I thought 4.0 is the latest model, update model. You're paying, you get the best results. But that's interesting to know that because and that's bring up so the good point too, right? Because not everything that they're testing out is at a highest level, right? Probably it's still being trained and still being in the little older version, and they're trying to get there. So at this time, probably that may make sense rather than using 4.0.
I think it's mainly the training because 4.0 they might have trained on a bunch of data,
Yes.
but it's more generic.
Yes.
But when they would have trained O3, they would have trained on content generation for code.
On a specific thing more.
Yeah, so that's why it's generating code really well, understanding the code really well. And one more thing I realized is if I ask 4.0 about the latest APIs, like let's say for Shopify or something like that, it has certain information, but O3 Mini knows exactly what APIs are, what payload structures they have, and based on that, it's generating the code. And I
Right.
even like copy pasted the code into it, and then asked me to explain that. It did a really good job.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, I want to try it too because I think I always just think about 4.0, but I have to explore.
I mean, for a generic use case, anything generic, 4.0 is
Further.
obviously the best. But if you're going deeper into a certain thing, like let's say image generations or code or something like that, then you should always go back and switch. Like, what are the models that are available? What can you do better there?
Yes, and one thing which I also liked about ChatGPT is the number of plugins that they have to. They have some for research, education, like various types of plugins. I often, especially if I'm researching something or looking for something, I try to use research plugins too. So those were handy to me in the past. Have you used any of that?
I never tried. So initially when they launched all the plugins, I think I played around with flowchart generations,
Yes.
or I even tried with like photo editing and stuff. But beyond that, I haven't tried recently, but I should go back to that.
Yes, I would try that too. Those are really good too.
Actually, one more thing I want to tell everyone is the voice mode. I want to tell you the story, right? So, in general, I go to office every day, and I have a good like 40 minutes to an hour commute, like one way. So, if I have things going on in my mind, and if I wanted to create a solution for it, that's the best partner. That's the best partner. So I just turn on the voice mode and I start talking to that. And it sounds crazy. Like we are already going into the future where we are not talking to humans to solve the problems. Rather, we are talking to like AI models. But it changed my life a lot recently. So
Interesting.
I was trying to solve a problem. I was trying to like I was telling that Shopify one, right? I don't know what APIs they have, and typically you might have to go to their website, research all of their APIs, and figure out which one is good. I just started talking to it. I was like, hey, I need to create a checkout page where someone should be able to buy the products, and then when they buy it on the website, it's go to Shopify. It gave me all the answers, exact APIs, how to set it up. All the details were pretty perfect. And imagine like this, right? So I'm sitting in front of the computer, have the voice mode right next to it. It's explaining you everything. As it explains, you go do that. And I feel like more than humans, it listens to you really well. Like the moment you start talking, it will pause, it will listen. And if it's telling something, or if you tell that, hey, you're doing something wrong, like it will listen to you like really well.
That's interesting. I've never used it. Why? Someone I would love to. Seems like you are making your driving also very productive.
And it was helpful because that's usually the time I listen to like either audibles or like talk to people or something like that. But if there is some issue that's running in my mind, usually I'm stuck, or otherwise I have to sit in front of the laptop to like research about it. Now I'm able to use this time that I'm just sitting and not doing anything else
Yes.
to like just brainstorm.
No, pretty good. Can we maybe try that once?
Yeah. Please, like you have iPhone, right?
Yes.
Open your Chat GPT and then try.
I'm very curious. Once you told me, like when I drive every day 1 hour, I would love to use if possible. All right. So I have it here.
So right next to the text, right? There
Yes.
is that voice symbol.
Yes. I'm just turning it on. Hey ChatGPT, how are you today?
I'm doing great, thanks. How about you?
I'm doing great too.
That's awesome to hear. Anything exciting happening today?
We are recording an interesting in-person podcast, so that's what is exciting. Can you plan our day to be more productive or something?
Sure. For a productive day, you might start by outlining key points for your podcast. Allocate specific time slots for recording, editing, and any other tasks. Make sure to take short breaks to stay refreshed and focused. That should help keep things on track.
That's interesting. It's giving me a plan how I can plan it.
Yeah. And think of it like this, right? This is a simple one that you asked. But any complex problems, you can literally talk to it and it'll give you all the details.
That's pretty interesting too.
It's life changing. You should try it out.
Yes.
And imagine the next generations, right? Whatever we used to struggle when we were kids, we are not struggling right now because we have the GPTs of the world. But imagine the next generations where anything that they are doing, there is GPTs around. Like I'm sure there'll be like speakers around the house which are continually listening to you,
Yes.
where they're casually talking to things, doing things, and imagine the productivity gains that they could get.
One thing which when you told me about how it's a good listener, that's one thing which I observed, because a lot of times when you have something or when you're talking to humans, being a when you're talking about a problem, if the other person or whatever you're talking to is a good listener, that makes it more easy. I feel like that is something that you could solve from here.
Yeah, totally. And one shortcut that I did recently, which I would encourage everyone to do as well, is if you're using an iPhone or other phones as well, there is shortcut buttons right nowadays. So for iPhone, usually people keep it for like silent, on, off, etc. I just customized that to have ChatGPT on it. So when I'm driving, I can just hold that button ChatGPT starts talking, I can just casually talk to it.
Okay, that's interesting. So this is gonna be my shortcut going forward.
Yep. Awesome. I know we spoke a lot about ChatGPT. Let's actually switch to Alexa, right? I know we spoke a little bit about that. I know you are in Amazon too. So um, I've seen videos about Alexa too recently. They were talking about how they're incorporating what's their models like. Amazon has their own LLMs, right?
Yeah, it has. I'm not getting the exact. Can't fully recall, but yes, they have their own LLMs.
They incorporated that LLM into Alexa too, and now they're able to automate a lot of daily things that people do using LLMs. So again, I don't know why Google is not doing that, but Alexa is much ahead of the game in that.
Yes.
I wish ChatGPT comes with their own hardware and start selling that with GGPT in it.
Yes, that will be game changer. I think like,
Yep.
the amount of accuracy or details that they have, I'm sure, right? Like they have everything. They have backend, which is most important, and they just need some kind of hardware to be integrated with that.
Yeah, true.
Yep.
Cool. Let's switch to other products, right? Um, Probably another one that I get into mind is Perplexity. So I'll tell you a funny story. I was in airport one day and I was going to India, and like right behind me was Arvind Srinivas. I wish I spoke to him on that day, but he was there. He has his headphones on and stuff. I was like, okay, let me not disturb him. I was in the immigration line and stuff. But that guy's doing a good job.
Yes.
If you think about it, um, it's just again a wrapper. There's nothing innovative that they have within the product.
Yes.
It's basically a bunch of LLM tools. They put a product on top of that, and instead of us paying, let's say you said you're paying $20 for ChatGPT, and then probably I'm paying $20 for Lovable, $20 for Bolt, etc. Instead of us doing all of this, we can just use Perplexity, and that takes whatever is the right models from anyone and then it uses the right experience.
Yes.
That guy did a crazy job of expanding. Recently, I don't know if you saw, Squid Game's actor is there, right? I'm blanking out on his name. There is an ad that came out for Perplexity on it.
Ooh,
Man, that guy is expanding Perplexity like crazy.
that's interesting. And I think it's one of the fastest AI product that we have seen in the recent times, which also reached that 1 billion valuation, right? That was one thing which was very interesting too. And some of the big investors like Jeff Bezos, Amazon, Nvidia have also invested a lot in that product. So I've used Perplexity again, not a lot as much as ChatGPT, but what I've learned based on my initial usage is that lot of research instead of Google can be done within Perplexity. Like your 70 to 80% again can be achieved, and you can like Google, when you go it will give hundreds of links, but nowadays there's no patience to look at 100 links. So you Perplexity makes it to that less than, like, more concise, so you go to most accurate ones.
Yeah, and it also gives you the references, right? That
Yes.
gives us more confidence that it's actually giving you the right information rather than hallucinating.
And that no yes, and also you, when you talked about the rapper, that brings that helped me recall one thing. Like this was one of the question, I think, in one of the media interviews that was asked to Arvind. You guys are just a rapper, and how do you guys like is want to survive? You're not, it's not something innovative that you're building. And I think he really answered it well. He took, like, yeah, that's okay, but even though you have 100 products, how do you get to your information fast? By choosing the right like whatever thing that you want, which none of those products solve. And also, and if you take an example like Netflix, behind Netflix it's AWS. So for everything the product, there's some backend or front end. So it's okay to be rapper as long as you're solving the customer problem, which I felt was pretty good.
Yeah, that's true. I remember that video. He told in a very funny way that
Yes.
Netflix is just a wrapper on AWS, and I think he was talking about Nvidia as well.
Yes.
Nvidia is just a wrapper on something else.
Yes. That was interesting comment from him too. But yes, Perplexity, it probably is my third favorite too.
Yep. Let's jump to more deeper ones, right? I know we have been exploring some tools like Lovable, Bolt, Replit, and all of that recently. Like anything like that that you use on a daily basis?
I mean, I know we have recently recorded Lovable, Replit, and Bolt. One thing which I started experiment a little bit more was Lovable, based on our research, what we found to build small like website to figure out how that works out. But I feel like Lovable is doing a good job. I think you don't need to prescribe everything to Lovable versus probably which you have to prescribe to Bolt or Replit. It's good in terms of creating that UI or mock-ups, like in terms of thinking all scenarios, journeys. But I still feel there is some opportunity where, from the backend integration standpoint, how do you connect it to APIs and all, which is still there's a lot of opportunity. But I see some promising thing because this was never possible before. I think it's going to be interesting. We have to see how that revolutionizes.
Yep. I totally agree. I'm in love with Lovable. I think I'm working on the third product using Lovable now. I know we did our website with that. On the personal side, I'm working on another website. And the funny part is, my dad was asking me, "Hey, can you build a website for me?" He's a lawyer, so he's asking me, "Can you build a website for me so that I can?" Because their generation, they're not used to internet.
Yes.
So if you go and search about my dad online, you'll barely find anything.
Yes.
So he was like, "Hey, I want to like showcase my work." And nowadays, everyone's trying to search online to find lawyers and stuff. I was working on building a website for him. It's like
Awesome.
so easy to build all of these things. But one comment I would say is it is smart and efficient for front end things. It is dumb as hell if it doesn't know what the right things to do. I was telling about the Shopify thing, right? It's as simple task for ChatGPT to go and search for APIs. But this one struggles big time, and unless and until you go and put all the documentation to it, it just hallucinates, creates whatever it likes, and if it doesn't find the information, it keeps giving mock information. So one thing that I feel is it's pretty good with the front end things, and it can do all the things because it doesn't have to research anything online. The moment it has to research something online and give you information, it's pretty bad.
Right.
Everything you have to spoon feed it. Otherwise, it's very, very bad to build anything. Uh, I think that's why people are using like Bolt and other things as well, because they also do the research part online and they also build the products that are needed for you.
Got it. That's interesting. Yeah. So I think there's a lot of road ahead for all these apps. They have to figure out. I mean, because if you just create a user journey, or it's going to look like a mock-up, like, but it has to go beyond that, integrate with websites. How do you do all this? Yes.
Yep. Cool. Beyond this, are there any other tools that you're playing with?
Um, I've played once, not now, but in the past, like something called like Chat PRD. So I know I won't say it's like my favorite, but
I hate that. I
yeah,
hate that to the core.
yeah, I did not like it as much. I mean, I used only a couple of times. The biggest con I felt was the responses were too generic. Like anyone can, if you even if you give any problem, it's going to give almost the same template. It's not going the specifics. I mean, as a product manager, I mean, PA product requirements have document has to be very specific to the problem that you're trying to solve. And if it's very generic and same template for everything, I felt like it was not useful even for like something like a simple one. It creates a very complex PRD when it's not needed, and even for a complex one, it was creating the same. I felt like that's my takeaway from Chat PRD. Have like, what was your experience?
I hate that for sure. The only thing that I like in that is it has templates.
Yes.
So, for example, Lenny has his template on PIDs. I think a couple of like product management gurus gave their own templates for like PIDs, research, etc. They were able to collect all of those templates and put it in one place. And when you ask a specific question to it, you can ask it to use those templates to generate the PID.
Okay, that's interesting.
And if you're doing something very, very generic, what I mean by that is you're doing a completely new product, 0 to 1 product, which doesn't need a lot of company specific knowledge or team specific knowledge, then it's good. It'll give you a good draft, like, at least that a starting point for you. But if you're trying to do anything specific within your team or company, which is what we do like most of the time, it's dumb as hell because it doesn't know all the information. We can't really blame it, right? If you don't have the information, like if the input is bad, output is very
Yes.
bad. It's like that.
Another thing which I know this probably a lot of folks might have heard, DeepSeek AI. I know that created a lot of buzz for a few days when it was initially launched. I mean, I tried using when it was initially launched. I felt like the responses were very similar to Chat GPT. I did not find difference a lot, but I know their unique selling point was it requires way less power to do all this cost and power, which is interesting. But I don't know. I'm not completely sure about their cost aspects, but I know that the selling point was that.
I mean, for an end consumer, it doesn't matter, right? For an end consumer, it's maybe like, okay, is it functioning well? Do we have all the required details? So even I tried it a few times, but somehow like GPT was what we are used to, so we eventually end up going to that. Probably one last thing that I want to talk about is the Sora.
So
I know, I mean, even for our podcast videos and stuff, we keep adding the video thumbnails in between, right? Not thumbnails, video snippets in between, right? For that, it was pretty good. I was actually playing with it recently to generate like small snippets of videos. So, for example, we are talking about GPT voice mode right now. Typically, what do you have to do? You have to record that video of screen recording in the phone and then put it there. If you ask it with a clear prompt telling that, hey, this is exactly what I want, it's going to create that snippet of video and give it to you. And in order for us to like edit the videos and stuff, that's a gold mine. You do you it reduce your effort big time on those things.
that's interesting. I mean, I haven't used Sora, I mean, especially some of this collecting all these video snippets and making sure it's relevant to your video and all. It's a very time-taking process, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully, this can help with our podcast, and we should start using more.
Yeah. Yep. Totally true.
One last thing from my side, notebook LM.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So,
We didn't talk about normal column yet.
you want to talk about that?
I like it. I mean, especially when you're trying to do research on multiple things and store it in a single place. I like that because if I'm using GPT right now, like from time to time, it's just lost in the chat. But in Notebook LM, you can actually store everything like a notes, and then it's there available for you at one place so that you can see through it, or even to share with other people instead of you creating like Word documents and all of that stuff. It does the research, give you all the details, put everything at the same place so that you can share it like a book.
Yes. No, that was one thing which I felt that was help was better in terms of organizing what you're researching, keeping it one place so it can be shareable or for your reference. With Chat GPT, I feel like you might have given hundreds and thousands of prompts, and it's hard to go back and to see when like to go to the exact thing that you wanted. So which I felt like Notebook LM. That's where I feel like Google probably is better. We're talking for the first time that Google is better in this podcast, but I felt like that was one thing where Google nailed it.
Awesome, Srinath. So this is great. I know we spoke about a lot. So just to summarize, the way I see it is use ChatGPT for like most of the basic things, but definitely switch between the models when you're trying out something new. Definitely try the voice mode; it changes your life. And depending on other use cases, I think we spoke about Claude, Notebook LM, building websites. Use Lovable. We love it to the core. And then we were also talking about Sora for generating videos, and we hate ChatPRD for now, but hopefully it gets better in the future.
Yep. No, thanks for again you're making all the way. This was interesting. First time doing in-person podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. Hope you guys liked it. Thank you.